Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the different types of snakes you could potentially be handling if you get into this hobby. And what I mean by that is you could go to a pet store or a breeder to buy a snake and you don't really know what that snake's going to be like until you get it home and handle it properly. It could be anything from a very aggressive little hatchling to a very timid adult to a very calm, mellow snake altogether. It's kind of a mixed bag with all this. So I'm just going to show you some of the different types of personalities you could encounter with snakes. So right off the bat, one of the more common things that people end up encountering is something like this, like my jungle jag here. Now I'm not saying that all jungle jags are like this, and I'm not saying they're all not. Truth be told, it's a mixed bag regardless of the species. I mean, yes, some species are more notorious than others for behaving a certain way, but these animals do have their own personality to an extent, and it all just stems down to their species, their upbringing, and just their general personality. As you can see, this jag seems fine, but he will bite me given the chance if I do the wrong thing. Like for example, you saw a moment ago he was just cruising around kind of doing his own thing. He was fairly calm and seemed okay. But now he's stopped moving and I'm moving my hand around. He's focusing in on that now rather than moving around. See? Now this is just a defensive thing and it's very common with hatchlings. So usually when you get hatchlings, not always, but sometimes they can be like this, where they're just a little defensive and they might strike occasionally. But as you can see now, he's back to moving and cruising around. He's not interested in biting. And as long as I keep my hands out of his field of vision, or I don't wave them around in front of his face and freak him out, he's generally fine. It's just, yeah, if I was to stop him from moving like that, and his neck S's up again, and see, now he's in a defensive posture. And as you can see, yeah, he bites. Oh, felt that one. I didn't expect the second one. Yeah, but generally he's okay. Keep under his head, get him moving again, and he's fine. I obviously wouldn't wrap the snake around my neck like I do some of my bigger ones because he's not at that level where I've 100% trust him yet with regarding his aggression, and that's just because he's little. Baby snakes are much more frightened of everything than bigger snakes. Because if this snake was in the wild, he'd be on their menu for so many things. Other snakes, big lizards, birds, mammals, pretty much anything bigger than him that eats meat would eat him. So he has to be kind of aggressive and defensive and very fearful of anything bigger than he is. But as they grow up, they usually mellow out anyway. Most snakes just calm down with age, and with regular handling, I mean, they're usually pretty good. You just have to kind of put up with them being this way for a couple of years, and then they're usually all good. However, not all hatchlings are like this, and I just want to let you guys know also, I'm not so much dedicating this video towards snake bites. If you're interested in that thing, I did a video on that quite a while ago, showing the different types of snake bites that can occur while keeping pet snakes. I'll put a little link to it up here in the corner of the video, so if you want to click on that, you can go and watch that, and you get to see me bleed a little bit too, which is, I guess, fun for some people. Wasn't so much fun for me though. But anyway, yeah, so these are two of my other little hatchlings. Now what I have here is a high yellow diamond python and a albino Darwin carpet python. Now these guys are nothing like my jag in terms of their defensiveness, and the diamond's just taken off there. However, they're still very different. As you can see, the diamond's taken off, but this little Darwin is still here with me. Neither of these two bite. They're not defensive in any way. They're great with handling already. However, I've noticed the diamond is a much more active snake with handling. He moves a lot quicker, he's more active with climbing and just trying to move around all the time. The albino Darwin's kind of content just chilling out on my hand here. He'll move around a bit, but he won't go too far, where this diamond is always on the move. And this kind of goes for a lot of diamonds. My bigger diamond as well is very much like this, just on a bigger scale. He's very hard to handle. Now my bigger diamond's hard to handle, not because he bites or anything. Well, not because he bites out of defensiveness. He has a bit of an aggressive feeding response, so I've got to watch that. But he's just very active and he moves very quickly. He doesn't like to stay in one spot for very long, and because of his size, he's just hard to manage. So again, as I was saying, this can vary from snake to snake. They have their own personality. This isn't exactly set in stone. I'm not saying all Darwins are calm and complacent and all diamonds are hyperactive. That's just what I seem to encounter most of the time. And like I said, they've all got their own personality too, so that can change their behaviour quite a lot depending on the individual. Now, while we're on the topic of larger snakes, this is my jungle carpet. Now, this is a perfect example of a snake that doesn't really like being handled for very long. Doesn't bite, which is great, but it's not a relaxing snake to handle by any means, because it just is constantly on the move and it just wants to climb up everything that's high. So you sit down with it, for example, and if there's any furniture or something near you, it's going to go off you and onto the furniture. Yeah, I had a hell of a time getting her out because she just wrapped around all of her branches and didn't want to let go, and yeah. Like, she's a great snake purely because she just doesn't bite. That's really all she has going for her. She doesn't bite, but she's not pleasant to handle for very long because she just gets a bit, like, I don't know, frustrating when you just want to sit and chill, and she's just constantly just going all over the place. She's not being too bad at the moment, because I was already holding her a bit before filming this, just trying to get her out of the tank, and I guess she's worn out now. One thing I do like about these arboreal snakes though is they're easy to handle in terms of that they've got a good grip. Because they're natural climbers, they're going to hold on quite well, so you don't have to worry about dropping them as much. They'll hold on and you can just let them do their own thing. Mind you, this particular individual has a habit of rolling out of your hands sometimes. She'll just be fine, and then out of nowhere she'll just decide, I've had enough, and she's going to just roll out of your hands, and you've got to catch her. So I got to kind of keep an eye out for that. That's why I do have to keep a slight hold on her at all times. Other than that, she is fine. And again, like my other smaller male jungle carpet isn't like this. He is a lot calmer. He'll just kind of sit curled up on your hand and not really move much, where this girl just wants to run all the time. Now, I got this snake as an adult already. I didn't have it from a hatchling, so I don't know what its upbringing was like, whether it was handled when it was younger or not. So that can play a part as well, but could be worse. I mean, at least she doesn't bite. Okay, now this here is my rosette diamond python. You may recognise this one in the video where I got bitten. This was the one that bit me. So again, I'll leave a link to that up there if you wanted to watch that one. This is basically the same sort of equivalent as the jungle carpet I was just holding, if that jungle carpet was a little bit less trustworthy. Now, what I mean by that is, same story, doesn't really like being moved around or handled very much. Loves to climb on everything around you. Never really sits still, kind of tries to roll out of your hands sometimes. When I'm sitting down like this, it's not so bad. When I'm standing up, it doesn't like it. All that, plus potentially could bite me. This is just because it has a very aggressive feeding response and has bitten me in the past out of thinking it's going to get fed, and it just latches onto my arm and wraps up. And it could do that at random, so I kind of have to keep an eye on where its head goes and just to watch its body language. So yeah, if I wanted to have a python, then I could just sit on the lounge like this and hold and kind of lay back, chill, relax, and have it just doing its own thing, crawling around. This isn't the one I would choose to do that with, mainly because in like 5 seconds it would be off the lounge, off somewhere where it shouldn't be, or potentially it would just bite me, because this guy just thinks everything is food. So he's being okay at the moment, but I do have to kind of watch him, especially when his head's resting on my arm like that. That's the time he usually does it. When he's like this and his head's kind of sticking out somewhere to climb, he's not thinking about food. But when he's in a more relaxed state of mind and he's just chilling on me, and his mouth is pressed against my skin somewhere, he'll start smelling me. If I smell of any of my other animals, especially like if I've been holding other snakes before him, which I have, yeah, he might just think, oh, I'll see if I can eat this. And he just gets a bit mouthy, so he'll just taste test and grab on. So yeah, and a lot of snakes can do this. I mean, black-headed pythons have been known to do it quite a bit. They've got an aggressive feeding sort of response as well, same as Woma pythons. But they got the aggressive feeding response minus the active personality with moving around. Where this guy's, got all the worst qualities. Except for defensiveness. He's not defensive. That's a good thing. Okay guys, so on the other end of the scale, you got this guy. Here's my big coastal carpet, which I've had for about 20 years now. He's about fully grown. As you can see, he's a decent sized carpet python. I mean, there are a lot of bigger snakes out there, but as far as carpet pythons go, this is a decent sized one. Now, I've had him for so long, 20 years, from a hatchling, regular handling. He's about as good as a coastal carpet's going to get regarding being handled. He is absolutely great to handle because I've had him for so long. I know his personality quite well. I can trust him. I can put him over my shoulders. I can trust this snake with handling so much that I'm not worried about him biting me. I can put him over my shoulders like this. His face can come up to my face. I don't care. Yeah. I just know him quite well and I trust he's never going to bite. Saying that, he's got size going against him as far as being a great snake for handling. He's placid, he's calm, he doesn't bite, doesn't move around a bit, not as bad as the jungle and the diamond, but he does get a bit active sometimes. However, the main thing that goes against him is his size now. He isn't exactly relaxing to always handle because he's so heavy. And he's quite strong as well. So at this size, also being a arboreal python, they're good climbers. So they like to wrap around and hang on. So when a snake about this size is doing that, you feel it, you know, he can wrap up reasonably tight for his size. So yeah, he's fairly strong and heavy, so when I do hold him nowadays, it doesn't happen much and it doesn't happen for very long. Just because he's kind of tiring. He's not the sort of snake I would say, for example, hand off to a small child to handle. Purely because he probably weighs as much as the small child does. But aggression wise, I don't have to worry about him. He's great. He's one of the few snakes that I can actually touch him on the head and he doesn't seem to care. Snakes generally don't like being touched on the head. They hate it. Most of the other snakes I had in this video, if I did that, they'd recoil back or they'd strike. With this fella, because I've been doing it to him since he was little, just playing with his face all the time, he doesn't seem to care so much now, which is great. I mean, that's just it's worked a world of wonders with his temperament. So yeah, when you get him like this, when he's a little more relaxed now, he's just a bit, I guess, annoyed that I pulled him out of his tank, so he was fairly active. He's pretty good for handling, and as far as a python that gets this sort of size, he's about as good as you're going to get. Okay, so this is one of my other better handling pythons. This is my black-headed python. This one is probably my most relaxed python in regards to, it doesn't move that fast. Again, it's got very slow, deliberate movement, so it's easy to manage. And being a more ground-dwelling python, it doesn't really wrap around you that tightly. It kind of just does this, it just ragdolls over your hands. It doesn't actually grab onto you, which is great. I mean, for people who don't like that sort of thing at least. This is a snake I usually hand off to people when they've never held a snake before. I give them this one first. Like, my big coastal's great, but his sheer size kind of intimidates a lot of first-time snake handlers, so I usually give them this guy because, yeah, slow movements, not too big, doesn't wrap around your hand and hang on to you or anything. He just kind of just drapes over you like this. Fairly easy to manage. Now, the black-headed python is known for being a fairly calm snake with handling, give or take a couple of individuals here and there, because yeah, they're individuals. You get some that don't fit into that boat, but most of them do. They do have a rather aggressive feeding response though. So these guys, they absolutely love their food, and yeah, sometimes they might just give you a bit of a nibble when you're handling them. This one hasn't yet, but I have seen some that have. That aside, they're just great because they're very slow and calm personality. Just goes really well with people who haven't held a snake before. And I mean, these are another great beginner's snake because they take food readily. They're not fussy feeders, so getting them to feed is quite easy. Handling wise, they're great. Again, their only drawback is you might get nibbled occasionally when it's a bit hungry and it thinks you're food. But that aside, they're a great beginner's snake. They don't get too massive. They don't get quite as big as the coastal carpet. which gets up to 10 foot, which coastal carpets are one of the largest pythons in Australia. Well, they're one of the largest carpet pythons, I should say. The largest python in Australia is the scrub python, but out of the carpets, the coastal is the largest. These guys generally only get around 6 to 7 foot long, so not quite as big. Still a reasonable size to be impressive, but not too big that they're hard to manage for someone who's never had a snake. But look, if none of that seems to work for you, if none of those sorts of snakes seem to sit well with you as far as handling goes, there is always another option. Get a bit of dragon. That's it for me, guys. I'm out of here. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. I'll leave my Instagram down below if you want to follow me there. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Don't make me tell you again.